Hey everyone, welcome to another session with me, Gaby of Nonna Gaby, and I'm so excited to be sharing these special recipes with you. This is one of my go-to lunches, dinners, super fast if I'm in a bind or don't have like much happening in the fridge or in the pantry. I just throw a bunch of things together and make one of my favorite things, which is a rice bowl. I'm a rice enthusiast. I love rice anytime, any place, anywhere. So this little concoction that I make is a bunch of different little recipes put together into one, but you can adapt, and I'll tell you like the different swappable proteins, different swappable veggies that you can use. And it's gonna be great, so I can't wait to get started. The first thing that you're gonna need is a small pot. So I'm gonna use this pot over here, and I have about a cup of rice. This is my last reserves of rice. Oh, hold on one second. I need to actually go get my rice. 1 minute. So this is my last reserves of rice, and this is about a cup of rice. So you're gonna be using a full cup of rice, and what I do with my rice is I don't wash it. You can wash it if you want. It gets the excess starch off, but I don't bother with that. And if you're busy, in a rush, don't always have the time. This also, you can make the rice in advance and then just reheat it. So I just put the dry rice directly into the pan, and then I use about a teaspoon of fat of choice. Right now I just made bone marrow, so I have a lot of like beef fat and bone marrow. So I'm gonna be using that because it's out and ready. So I'm just gonna add that to the pot and put it on like a medium heat so it toasts. And while that's toasting, like once the fat's melting and the rice is toasting, you wanna watch it. You'll measure out your water. So I usually use 1.5 cups to 1, well, my ratio is 1 to 1.5. One being the rice, 1.5 being the water. And I'm using basmati rice. It's my favorite. It's long grain. I really like it. Some people like jasmine, or I don't know what other rice is out there. Sushi rice. So my pot's heating up pretty quickly. And I just want to make sure that everything is toasted and that my fat's melted and gets to be mixed in with the rice. And you can use coconut oil, any, like I would use my go-to is coconut oil. You could use butter, you could use olive oil if you like. All of that works, and you just need a tiny bit so it like glistens. Once your rice is glistening and you like can smell it toasting a little bit, then you can go ahead and add your water, and it makes that lovely noise. So that was my one, and I just need 1/2 of a cup. I'm eyeballing this, and people always ask me like, oh, why don't you use a rice cooker? And I'm like, no, because I make perfect rice almost every time. But I actually am gonna have to transfer this to the kitchen because I only have one burner out here, and I wanna show you how I make my blistered broccoli in a sec. So I'm gonna wait for this to come to a boil, and while I'm doing that, I'm gonna add some salt in, a couple grains of salt, about a teaspoon also. And then just stir it around until it gets, so you want your burner on high at this point, because we want the rice to come to a boil. And while that's going, I will prep the broccoli. So I'm gonna cut the broccoli off so you have just, and put the stalk on the side. And you can use the stalk for a snack. You can cut off the sides because they're a little bit more fibrous, and discard the sides, and then chop the middle up and saute that. Or you can use it as a snack, like veggie sticks. Very tasty. So I'm just gonna cut my broccoli into florets. And what I usually do is I try and find like where it's separated and cut down so it's like little a little bit of, we got a little bit of stock, a little bit of broccoli heads, and I'm just gonna chop it up. And my rice is starting to boil, so I'm gonna have to move into the kitchen in a second and lower it. So once it is boiling, you want to lower your heat to low and cover it with a lid, and it'll go for about 20 minutes. So we'll check on it together, but it'll be about 20 minutes if you want to set a timer to go check on your rice. So I'm gonna go move this to the kitchen, and then I'll be back with you in a sec. Okay, so next up we have the broccoli. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the same fat that I used for the rice, and just put also like a small amount, half a teaspoon in my cast iron. So if you don't have a cast iron, if you have a cast iron, I'd recommend using the cast iron because it gets very hot and it allows the broccoli to get nice and charred without overcooking it too much. So I'm gonna put this on a medium heat, and then I will toss my broccoli in. And I like my broccoli cooked not so much. So I like that it stays green and is like, I don't know, I like it on the crunchier side. Some people like it a little bit softer, so you may have to cook your broccoli a little bit longer than I'm cooking it. So another great veggie to do this with is Brussels sprouts. So we have rice. If you don't eat rice, you can substitute with quinoa, or if you're like completely grain-free, you can use either like steamed greens or regular greens. This is just kind of putting together a lot of many different like food groups, so you have enough to feel satisfied and that you don't get hungry later in the day or for dinner, like you just feel satisfied with your dinner. So now everything's starting to cook and get nice and hot in my skillet. And I'm gonna season with a bit of salt. So I season everything very simply: salt, pepper, fat, salt, pepper. That's basically it. I'm not even gonna add pepper to this broccoli. And the cast iron really gives it like a nice char, which I love. So while that's going, I'm gonna start. So I grated a carrot. That's gonna be one of the toppings. So you can grab a carrot and grate it. Another thing I'm gonna add in is some scallions. So I'm just gonna chop up some scallions. Just very thinly. It'll be for a garnish. You can actually add this to the beef mixture once we make it in a few minutes. And you just want to cut it very nice and thin. And then I have my garbage bowl right here on the side, handy dandy garbage bowl. So I'll have that in one corner of my cutting board. And then next I'll chop up some cilantro. This will also be a topping. And I'll put that in the other corner of my cutting board. And we're gonna just do a rough chop. I'm just gonna chop off the end bits, put them in the garbage bowl, and then give a rough chop to the leaves. And if there's a little bit of stem, that is totally fine. The great thing about cilantro is that you can eat the stem, but I just choose the leaves. And just a rough chop. So if you're making this in a larger quantity or want to have it, ready available, you can pre-chop like a bunch of cilantro, a bunch of scallions, and then just put this together on the fly. And I'm just checking on this, so we're getting some nice char on the broccoli, and it's starting to smell good. It's getting crispy. Smells like a barbecue, veggie barbecue. Oops. All right, a few more minutes, and then we'll be able to chop the my last of the ingredients, which is the radishes. So I have 3 radishes here. I'm only gonna chop up like one of them, I think, because I'm just one person, but you can chop up a bunch of radishes in advance also. If you'd like, these can also be pickled if you want to make quick pickles. And that's just simple. A little bit of, not olive oil, a little bit of apple cider vinegar, rice vinegar, and some water, some salt. And you leave it out for a little bit, and then it's ready. And you can keep that in the fridge for a while, and you'll get the recipe for quick pickles as well, because that's something I often put on my rice bowl. But for today, I'm just going to use regular radishes. Fresh radishes, because I love fresh radishes. So I recently did some research. Now it's spring, so I'm just chopping them into little matchsticks, and this is like my version of matchsticks. I just cut them horizontally and then go the other way, long ways, until they become little matchsticks, and I'm very careful not to chop off any fingers. And then I have a little matchstick radish, very cute and very good for photo taking. So now it looks like my broccoli is pretty much done, so I'm going to turn the heat off and just let them hang out in there. And this cast iron is hot, so I need to be careful. Actually, the handle's not hot. So I'm just gonna move it over here. And then you can see that if I pick up the broccoli, it's still pretty green, which is what I'm going for. But if you like it on the softer side, you may have to cook it a little bit longer. So you see it's still sizzling in the pan because the pan stays really hot. So I'm going to just leave it in there for a second and get some garlic chopped for the meat. So I have 2 cloves of garlic. I'm actually going to only use 1 because I have about 3/4 of a pound of ground beef. But I'm giving you a recipe for 1 pound. So you can use 2 cloves of garlic. And you want to take your garlic and just chop off any like weird end bits, and then slice it down the middle. And this was a trick my grandma told me to take out this, like if you have like a middle core to the garlic, you just take it out because apparently that's bitter. And then I'm gonna just roughly chop the garlic, and you see I'm keeping everything on my cutting board, which is nice. If you're prepping a lot more vegetables, you might have to use some bowls, but in the interest of like saving time to clean, you know, if you have a lot of kids or if you're busy working a lot and you don't want to spend so much time cleaning up, this is like minimal use of dishes, you know. So, and I have even like more dishes out here than you probably need because I did some prep before. So my garlic is chopped. I just rough chopped it. If you have ginger, you can chop up about like 1 inch of ginger as well, because that goes really nice in the rice bowl. I mean, with the beef mixture. So I am gonna put the broccoli into a separate bowl so I can use the cast iron again for the meat. And it's ready and crispy and gorgeous. And the great thing about cast irons, what I love about them is, don't do what I'm doing, don't stick your hand in it because it is hot, but I am a daredevil, so I like to do that. I'm gonna bring this back up here, and I don't need to add any oil to this pan because I'm gonna be using ground beef, which has a significant amount of fat in it. So what I was gonna say is that you can use alternative proteins. You can do this with chicken. You can do, if you're a vegetarian, you can substitute with mushrooms. This is great with mushrooms. Or if you wanna, you can also have it with a fried egg, just simply fried egg, and then you can add the different sauces to top the rice bowl. So my pan's already hot, so it's already like searing, but I'm just gonna get the beef broken down a bit. And I'm gonna add the garlic. I don't wanna add the garlic right away because garlic has a tendency to burn, and this is gonna be cooking for a while, so I'll add it once the beef is already in. So now I'm adding it just so there's like a little bit of fat to cook the garlic in. Then I'm gonna use some salt, and a little bit of pepper. And then I'm just gonna cook this down. It's getting loud in here. And you can lower the heat to like medium low, depending on what kind of, this cast iron gets super, super hot. So I'm cooking on medium-low heat, whereas like you may want to cook on a medium-high. And you just want to break up the beef so that it gets cooked evenly. And you want it to be in little bit, like you want it to be broken up. Think taco meat. And you see that it's quieting down over here. Oh no. That's because my flame went out. And we'll just keep cooking it. And with this, you can go a million different flavor profiles. So I'm actually gonna add a bit of the scallions to this because I want some scallions in it. You can save it for a raw topping, but I'm gonna add it directly to here. So this is fun because you can play with it and make it your own. And you have like a recipe guideline, like just use it as a guideline. And then once you watch this video, you'll say, oh, hey, wow, like this is inspiring. I can do it in this way or that way. And this is also a fun meal for kids because they can have a say in what goes into their rice bowl. Kind of like when you give them a choice within, you know, a realm of different things, and it feels very empowering. I remember like I loved taco nights or any kind of like make your own anything night at my house because I got to choose like what went into my plate, what went into my taco. And it was like a way of getting them to cook without really even cooking but cooking is really just putting a bunch of different things together. So once the meat is totally browned, I'm gonna kick up the heat a notch. And I have to figure out, okay, this way. And then I will add a teeny bit of sesame oil for flavor. It has a nice nutty flavor. And then, so I have some ground ginger because I didn't have fresh ginger. So I'm gonna add a pinch of ground ginger because ginger's always nice. Already smell, I'm like got kicked in the face with sesame oil. So I'll add a couple pinches of ground ginger. Oops. And then stir that in. And then you wanna add the soy sauce at the very end. So I'm gonna turn the heat up so like the fat and everything evaporates, but also it gets flavored. So I'll do 1, 2, 3, 4 little shakes of Tamari or whatever soy sauce you have around the house. I like Tamari. I just like a nice flavor. It's gluten-free if you're gluten-free. So it helps check off a lot of boxes. And then this is the phase where I would add chili flakes, any spice, any heat that you want to add to this. Very good, very recommended right here in this step while this is cooking down. And then we'll just saute it for a few minutes. If you want, you can turn the heat way up and it can get a little crispy, which is nice. It adds a little bit of texture. And I'm just waiting. I want all the liquid or most of the liquid to evaporate that's in this pan right now. And that'll be a few more minutes. And I'm just gonna get my lime ready. So I'll just cut off a piece of lime for the topping and putting together. So this will be a good time to check on your rice, see how it's doing. It might need a few minutes. My mom always yells at me and she says, don't open rice when it's cooking, but it's okay, you totally can. But she gets mad when I do it. And I make like close to perfect rice almost every time. So not to brag, but I'm bragging. Okay, so it's starting to get a little bit crispy, which I like. I like the extra texture. But if you don't like it, you can just pull it off at this stage. And so if you're doing this with chicken, you want to taste as you go, because sometimes chicken needs a little bit more flavor as you're cooking. And now I'm just turning off my heat because the cast iron stays hot. I'm gonna go take a look at the rice and see how it's doing. But this is basically done. Chopped your radish, chopped your cilantro, chopped your scallions to top, and then you have all your other toppings. And I have my charred broccoli, which took 2 seconds to make, grated carrots, which also you just grated carrot. You can also buy already grated carrots. And then I'm going to show you some of my preferred toppings. So I have, this is mother-in-law's kimchi. I love kimchi. It's spicy, which is why I didn't add more spice to these to the beef. But this is great. It's a great source of like a fermented food, so it's very probiotic friendly, helps build up your microbiome or maintain your microbiome, and also gives it a little kick. But this is not kimchi, this is daikon with kimchi flavored. So it's very good. Daikon is a radish. So if you can get your hands on this, awesome. If not, we have radishes, you can pickle your own radishes, use your own ferments that are available, your own kimchi that's available in your local grocery store. And then the other thing that I really like topping these rice bowls with is Gomasio. So this particular Gomasio is seaweed, and Gomasio is basically, usually it's a brand. Well, Eden's the brand, but they have Gomasio. So it's a mixture of sesame seeds and other stuff. This one has seaweed in it, 3 different kinds of seaweed, and it's just a great topping. I love seaweed, so if you love seaweed, you'll love this. Or if you don't love seaweed, you can just use plain old sesame seeds, just as fine, just as good, just as tasty. And then finally, another topping that I love that I don't have with me today is avocado, because who doesn't love avocado? I mean, if you don't, that's, you do you, you know, everyone has their own likes and dislikes, but I love avocado as a topping, and it goes great with this bowl. So I'm gonna check on the rice, and we will put together our bowls. I'm so excited. So I did a little cleanup on set, as you can see, but once the rice is done, which should be about 20 minutes in, check it, and you'll just fluff it up with a fork so it gets nice and fluffy and white and beautiful. And it shouldn't be too sticky. If you made it on the sticky side, I love sticky rice, so that's cool. But here's my beautiful rice. And now we'll start building our bowls. So the way I like to start is obviously, well, or not so obviously, with a base of rice. So I'm just gonna put in a couple of spoonfuls, and it depends how much rice you like. Like I said, shared earlier, love rice. So I may go heavier than most on the rice. And it's actually a big bowl, so when you look inside this bowl, it looks like there's not that much, but there actually is. It's a pretty big bowl. Then I will add my blistered greens, and my green of choice today is broccoli. And if you don't have broccoli around, you can use Brussels sprouts or broccoli rabe, or really anything, any veggie that you like, and just blister it. I just like the green aspect because I like the color change. Then I'm gonna add my beef, and I'm just arranging it in like a circle so it's pretty. So a few spoonfuls of beef, and so I have some carrots, put that in one corner, and some radishes. I threw a radish at you. And then we're pretty much done. I want to add some of my kimchee, so any ferment you have, you can add to it. I'll just add a few pieces of daikon. And it also gives it, this particularly gives it a nice spice, so if you have kimchi around, it adds a layer of spiciness. If you don't have the if you didn't add the chilies to the beef, or if you did and you just really like spicy food, it's a great thing to add. And then finally, I'm going to garnish with a little bit of cilantro, just a bit, all over, kind of. And so it looks really nice and pretty. And then you can't even see the rice under here, but I guarantee you it's there. But I have my blistered greens, my raw veggies, my fermented radishes, you can use any ferments, and my ground beef. And then underneath it is rice. And then the final thing is I love lime, so I'm gonna drizzle some lime over, particularly over the raw veggies, and then everywhere else. And then another thing I'm gonna add to the raw veggies, I'm just gonna drizzle some sesame oil over, just a teeny bit, because it gives it such a nice flavor. And you can, of course, we season the beef with sesame oil and tamari. You can, of course, add more to this bowl. If you want everything to have that flavor, you can add a drizzle or two. Oh, and then I forgot, or I didn't forget, I saved the best for last, Gomasio, or plain sesame seeds are also fine. And I'm just gonna put some over, I like to be strategic with it, so I'm gonna put it over just the raw veggies. But eventually I'm gonna mix this all together. So this is what my bowl looks like. I'm so excited to dig into this, because this is gonna be my lunch. And it took not that long. You just have to chop a few veggies. I'm gonna provide you with all of the alternatives in the PDF that you will get along with this video. But just to recap, protein, you can use a fried egg, you can use mushrooms. I know that's not a protein, but instead of the beef, if you're a vegan or if you're a vegetarian, mushrooms are a great substitute, because it has that like umami bite, and it's great with sesame oil and tamari. You could use ground chicken, diced chicken. You could even do this with like beef stir fry. The cooking time will vary, obviously. Or if you just want a plain fried egg, and then you can flavor the bowl with sesame oil and tamari afterwards. Or cook the egg in sesame oil, that could be interesting. And then the raw veggies you use are also changeable. So if you have cucumber, that could work. If you have avocado, that could work. The options are infinite. So just to recap what's going in this bowl, we have some raw veggies, we have protein, we have the rice base, and again, the rice base can be substituted with either quinoa, you can use soba noodles, or if you're totally grain and gluten-free, then you can use just simply steamed like kale or collards. And you can also have a wide range of blistered vegetables, which can be broccoli, asparagus even. You just go with what you like, and put it together. And then finally, the ferments and the fresh herbs, always a plus. You don't have to use cilantro. I know a lot of people aren't like the biggest fans of cilantro, so that is up to you. I can't wait to hear what you guys think and how it all comes together for you. And in the meantime, I I'm going to start enjoying this. I'm gonna dig into this, but in the meantime, you can follow me at the Nonna Gaby for all Nonna Gaby happenings, and like my Facebook page. That's where I post my new classes, all the updates there first. And I hope you enjoy the video. And please, if you make this recipe and like it, definitely share on Instagram or social media and tag me at the Nonna Gaby and hashtag Nonna Gaby. I can't wait to see what you guys make. And if you make any adjustments, I would love to hear how they come out. Enjoy. Have a great week.